Watch what he does to a guy that he fired.
Sam, you're a piece of work. So let me ask you, how are you doing, Sam?
I'm doing well. Well, we're going to see how I'm doing. I'm putting it all on the line, Mr. Trump.
I think you're going to do great.
I've always said it all on the line. I'll tell you what, I got a proposition for you in the Samsonite briefcase. You're paying Bill here $250,000 to work for you next year. I'll pay you $250,000 to work for you.
Give me that money.
I'm dead serious.
Clinton Jaws. This is a different channel. It's not my main channel, so please subscribe to this one. I do different things on this channel. You guys missed it. The Jordan Peterson and Pierre Poilievre interview? You missed the end. It wasn't over. I'm going to show you. You just watch the YouTube version. They talk for another 30 minutes on Daily Wire.
All right, so for everybody watching and listening, I'm going to talk to Mr. Poilievre for another half an hour on the Daily Wire side. Seems particularly apropos given that Trump has been making jokes about Trudeau being the governor of the 51st state and has also threatened to put 25% tariffs on Canada.
So I went to Daily Wire. I scrolled down, found Jordo, clicked on him, right here. Join to watch. They want money. So I paid it. And I watched it. And I'm going to show it to you. It's the best part. They talk about Trump. Poilievre tells all of Canada how he's going to handle Trump. And it was good. It was good to hear intelligence. Unlike the Liberals, what we've been hearing lately on how they want us to handle Trump. These Canadian MP Liberals are lunatics. This is not how you handle Trump. This is not what you say to Trump. We'll start with Charlie Anus. Do you think it's a smart idea insulting Trump, calling him a buffoon, 3 times?
The last thing I thought I'd be doing on Christmas Day is responding to Donald Trump's rage rot that's in his brain. To hold this malignant buffoon in check, sort of acted like the buffoon, but he wasn't that stupid. No, this guy is a grifter. This guy is a convicted criminal. He should not be in the White House, but hey, I can't tell Americans how to vote. But what I can say is that Canada needs to stand up and hold the line while Americans get their act together and put some kind of constraint on this malignant buffoon.
Or how about Freeland? Poking at the bear.
Mr. Speaker, I've stood up to Trump, and I have stood up to Putin. Juvenile, playground insults from the wannabe, mega, maple syrup conservatives do not frighten me at all.
She stood up to you, Trump. And then you have Canada's biggest wingnut. Green Party. May. What are you going to say, May?
Today being January 3rd, 17 days and counting till the inauguration, where we're promised an onslaught of punishments and abuses. We listen to President-elect Trump's concerns. We dispute the nonsense that our border is allowing fentanyl and criminals to pour into the United States. Newsflash, Donald Trump, we are not aspiring to be a 51st state. We are already a sovereign country. We are a nation. And anytime anyone looks around the world for the top 10 places to live, Canada's in the top half of the top 10, always. The United States? Never. Mr. Trump, please, before making public pronouncements that Wayne Gretzky should run for prime minister, give yourself or get yourself a briefing on the nature of parliamentary democracy, a Westminster parliamentary system and a constitutional monarchy where no one runs for prime minister. I don't want to belittle Mr. Trump, but on the other hand, hey, Donald, have we got a deal for you? You think we want to be the 51st state? Nah, but maybe California would like to be the 11th province. If it was a joke, it was never funny, and it ends now.
Conferences like this where the party leaders are speaking directly to the Trump administration, as you've done here, can that not come off as to the Trump administration as a little antagonistic?
Oh, I hope so.
If you want something from Trump, you don't ever insult him. He punishes disloyalty every time. You show respect with no insults, and there's no way he's putting a 25% tariff on Canada. But you talk like that, And he will. Another thing about Trump, you can change his mind. He respects respect. This is what he did to a guy, and I know it was a TV show, but just watch what he does here. Watch what he does to a guy that he fired.
Sam, you're a piece of work. So let me ask you, how are you doing, Sam?
I'm doing well. Well, we're going to see how I'm doing. I'm putting it all on the line, Mr. Trump.
I think you're going to do great.
I've putting it all on the line. I'll tell you what, I got a proposition for you in the Samsonite briefcase. You're paying Bill here $250,000 to work for you next year. I'll pay you $250,000 to work for you.
Give me that money.
I'm dead serious.
Bring it over.
It's real.
Bring it over. Bring it over. If that's real money, I'll take it.
It's real.
Okay? Is it real? I'll take it. I'll put him to work for $10,000 a year, and that's pretty good.
It's an investment in my future.
Give it over here. I might take it. Come on.
No, here you go.
For you. That looks like the real deal. All right, I'm going to seriously consider that. I've told a lot of people he's a different kind of guy.
I'm not crazy.
And now it's not such a crazy thing he just did, folks. Anyway.
It's not just a crazy thing you did. He liked it. God. It is so easy. It is so easy to deal with this guy. Poilievre knows it. Watch this. This is what he says about Trump. Watch the difference from the Liberals.
Let's talk about the Americans and Trump, and I'll start by recounting the story of Trudeau's last voyage down to Mar-a-Lago. Trump famously met with Trudeau and seemed to troll him quite hard. I mean, the first thing, I don't know to what degree the Canadian press picked up on this, but Trudeau wasn't invited to stay at Mar-a-Lago. And there's 126 rooms there. So, and Trump invites everyone to stay there who he invites there. And so,
did you even know that?
You know, that was a message. And then he trolled him hard. He called him the governor of America's 51st state. And
are you going to freak out, Pierre?
Let it be known that he had very little respect for him. And then he announced a 25% tariff on Canadian goods
to get rid of him.
And so I had like two reactions to that. You know, one was, because I'm no fan of Trudeau, one was amused pleasure at Trump's vicious humor, let's say. And the other was, you know, he still is the leader of your primary ally in a G7 nation. And so, you know, maybe that verged on contempt. Now, I'm not exactly sure what to make of that. And I'm curious about your response and also how you feel about negotiating a new relationship with the Americans and with the Trump administration in particular.
Call him a buffoon,
I
right?
won't spend a lot of time on how I feel about it, other than to say Trudeau is a weak leader who leads a weakened economy with a weakened dollar, a weakened border, and President Trump has a strong mandate, and he spent his life as a highly successful businessman in the most cutthroat economic environment in the world, New York City.
Are you respecting him?
In construction.
In construction.
Yeah, and in Chicago, right?
This is a former businessman who can spot weakness a mile away and act on it. So that, to me, it's just humiliating for all Canadians to witness something like that because this is our country. But what am I going to do about it? Well,
call him a buffoon.
Look, first and foremost, we need to show up with strength. We have an American president who has always put America first. He's very blunt about it. I'll put Canada first. The good news is that there's immense overlap in the two countries' respective interests and values. We're both liberal democracies. We both value freedom. We both...
That's how you do it.
There's no reason why we can't both win. And if you look at the history of President Trump, he negotiates very aggressively, and he likes to win. But in the end, he doesn't appear to have a problem if his counterparty also wins. So I think that we can get a great deal that will make both countries safer, richer, and stronger. And that's the goal that I'll be coming into these negotiations.
Are you seeing what I see?
One of the things that Trump pointed to was Canada's trade surplus with the U.S.,
Yes.
$100 billion. And that was his estimate.
Yeah.
Now,
it depends how you measure it. Other estimates have it around 40 billion, but he's right. There is a Canadian trade surplus with the States.
Oh, he's right.
And you can say that America has been ripped off by China and Mexico, and you can see examples of a factory closing in Ohio or Pennsylvania to open in Mexico or in China, but that's not the nature of the Canadian trade surplus. It's not because the Canadian economy has been taking American jobs, far from it. The nature of our trade surplus with America is that, yes, it is a ripoff. Canada is ripping itself off. And let me explain. Our entire trade surplus and more is due to oil and gas, because we export about $120 billion of oil and gas to the United States at enormous discounts to market price, because we have been so stupid and our bureaucrats have been so obstructive and woke activists have been so fanatical that we have not been able to develop the infrastructure to refine and transport our own energy to world markets. So
we're stuck with the U.S.
We
so
sell,
to speak.
depending on the time, we sell a barrel of oil to the Americans for, 10 to 30 or 40% cheaper than the world price. They then get to upgrade it and resell it at enormous profits with their welders and pipe fitters, engineers making the six-figure salaries that go along with that. We give all of our natural gas exports to the United States because we don't have an operating liquefaction terminal to send it away ourselves. So they get our natural gas at massive discounts, and then they can decide if they want to liquefy it and ship it off to world markets at literally $5. So that is the trade surplus he's talking about. Now, if he were to stop that today, what it would mean is that American workers at refineries and in other value-added places would lose their jobs, and Americans would pay higher energy prices. So that would not be good for America. In the long run, I'll be very blunt, I intend to approve refineries and LNG plants and hopefully pipelines so that I can bring that production back to Canada and make us more energy independent.
What have we been doing for 10 years?
In the short run, if President Trump wants to make America richer, the last thing he should want to do is block the underpriced Canadian energy from going into his marketplace. In fact, what I would encourage him to do is to approve the Keystone Pipeline so that we can create jobs for American workers who will build and install it, but also create much more wealth for Alberta and Saskatchewan and having their product reach tidewater in the U.S. Gulf Coast and get world prices. So there's enormous opportunities for both of us to get vastly richer if we actually deepen our trade relationship rather than
Don't you want to stand up to him?
Right. Well, it seems highly probable to me that that would be the direction that the Trump administration would turn in if they were negotiating with people who were playing a straight game and were actually aiming for something like economic prosperity instead of whatever the hell it is that Trudeau's aiming for now. So you may... The fact, for example, that Trudeau turned away the Chancellor of Germany and the leader of Japan when they came cap in hand to Canada asking for increased natural gas exports over the long run also meant, given that we refused that we ended up maintaining our low-cost contracts with the United States and selling them all our resources at a discount.
Yes.
Jesus,
enormous
that's so stupid.
Enormous.
So that's the business case Trudeau couldn't make.
Well, what I would, I hate to say this, but because we have blocked LNG plants and pipelines and other energy infrastructure, and because we're giving, therefore, our gas to America at like a 70 or 80% discount to European and Asian prices, and our oil at a discount of 20 or 30%, we're effectively throwing money out a window. What do you do when someone throws money out a window? stand next to the window.
Yeah, right.
Like, I mean, so that is the true story of it's the pathetic story of our trade surplus, is that we're actually handing over our resources stupidly. It's not the Americans' fault. It's our fault. We're stupid.
See?
And we're going to stop being stupid when I'm prime minister. We're going to build this infrastructure ourselves. Is that the gains that Canada gets from increased access to the United States, I would spend largely on our continental defense, on a more powerful Canadian military that truly secures the Arctic, that protects us against terrorists, against intercontinental ballistic missiles, against threats from, God forbid, threats from other parts of the world. We could have a bigger and more powerful military with a bigger and more powerful economy. And so our interests overlap overwhelmingly. And that's the case that I would make to the incoming president, who has proven that he is good at and likes to make deals.
See?
So what's your negotiating strategy as you look up into the... What do you see as Canada's optimal strategy in dealing with the pesky Americans?
Well, what I would say to the Americans is let's take out a map of our shared continent. And, here's the 49th parallel. Where do you believe we need to do more to protect our shared security across that map?
Oh, you're going to ask them? That would include the securing of the northern border.
Of course, the northern border, and then the Arctic. How do we get Chinese and Russian submarines and spy balloons out of our continent and our airspace? How do we keep terrorists out of our continent? How do we secure the border against the dreadful poison of fentanyl? And then let's come up with a plan to do that, and we'll do our part.
Okay, so you'd start with border security and military issues, perhaps.
Yes. Well, I think that's because I think that's what they're really concerned about.
With regard to Canada.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. We have a mutually advantageous trade relationship. Canada's trade with the U.S. is nothing like the China-U.S. relationship. So I don't think they have serious economic grievances with us. I think what they are saying is you do need to do your part. You're the second biggest country in the world. You need a military that will protect your territory.
Right, so you could show goodwill on that front and make yourself credible.
And I think we can say to them, I can fund a more robust military and continental defense if I have more free trade with the greatest economy the world has ever seen. And we can both win.
Finally.
So it goes from zero sum to to a positive for both countries.
Just makes me feel better listening to it.
I think that's a deal that President Trump would take because it's good for America and it's good for Canada, so it's the deal that I would push.
I wanted to show that to you. That's how you do it, guys. That's how you do it. That's exactly how you do it. You don't do it like those other idiots that I showed you. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to show you some other great parts of this interview after I say bye-bye.
And I will be slashing the bureaucracy and the handouts to interest groups, the corporate welfare, and I will accordingly reduce deficits and taxes so that we can unleash free enterprise.
Okay.
If it was to say, well, if you want to show up to cabinet and ask for new money, you're going to have to go hunting within your own department to find the savings. Well, there'd be a hell of a lot more focus on rooting out the waste organically with that rule in place. I think the Americans should look at going back to that because in the 90s, that was the last time they had a balanced budget. They paid off $400 billion.
Right, there were budget surpluses.
They had surpluses.
Forecasted, right?
And they went back.
Debt was going to be eliminated within 10 years at the end of the Clinton administration.
The debt was paid, $400 billion was paid off. And as soon as the pay-as-you-go law vanished, they went right back into deficit because politicians need legal limits on their spending. Well, I think it's because we have resisted the woke insanity in our party and we have stood up for good, rock solid, common sense, conservative values, and it's been politically successful. I mean, the people like it. We are winning not in spite of our common sense conservative agenda, but because of it.
And that's your problem.
Well, it's my opportunity too. I mean, it's Canada's opportunity, because when I say it's a hellscape, it's the policies that have been a hellscape. The country is absolutely fantastic. It's a great country and great people. We have, 41 million highly educated, hardworking, ambitious people. We have a massive supply of natural resources. We live next to the greatest economic and military superpower the world has ever seen, and they haven't tried to invade us in over 200 years.
What's that?